Weezer, it's good to see you back in Minnesota.
Good to see you too, Thelma. It's been a long time.
It has been an awfully long time since we've been out on the airwaves with our quilting friends. I'm excited. We're hitting the road next week to
So am I. It's been over a year in the making for this baby.
What baby?
Our bus trip.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure if we made the right decision canceling once the governor lifted his regulations, but I still think for everybody's safety and it was the best decision to make. But I'm excited to hit the road with you in the car.
I can't wait to burn up the road.
Mom's gonna travel along with us, so we'll have a backseat driver.
The best backseat driver.
She never says a word, no matter what. Even if I turn and go down the road with traffic coming at us.
I was just gonna bring that up.
She just
Instead,
laughs.
we laugh because there's nothing else you can do.
So you are probably glad that you're not traveling in my car with us, but we're excited. We have about 20 people that are going to be out and about.
And it'll be really fun to see you because it's been a long time coming.
And we're headed to your home stomping grounds.
Buckle up. Sodak will never be the same.
Sodak? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was such a big thing, but apparently South Dakota's shortened up to Sodak, Sodakers. I don't know.
And we're ending our day at a winery, and you'll be drinking milk.
I know,
it is
dairy month. And I do love milk, and I have been eating an awful lot of ice cream.
And we're excited. Steve and his crew are actually going to be traveling along with us as well. So for those of you that travel with us and enjoy seeing the bus driver, he'll be there just driving his own caravan with passengers in it. And we're excited for everybody who's joining us.
Yes.
Have you been busy?
We've been really busy. I have bonded quite nicely with my sewing room. And it's been great. I have really enjoyed the time. I've also continued to work and have done some fishing, and life's been good. How about you?
And you're changing.
I have a bump.
I'm so excited.
I do have a bump. And things are going well, and we're over halfway through, which is really exciting.
It is very exciting.
Very, very, very exciting. And no, we did not find out whether we were having a boy or a girl, but it sure is fun to hear people's guesses and the reasons behind the guesses. And do you have a guess, Thelma?
I don't. I just finished my first baby quilt.
I know. I'm excited for everybody to see it because it's really, really, really cute.
And I think that it stayed neutral as far as the sex department, although I think if people look at it, they're going to think that it's a boy, but it's not. It was made for
girls
either
too.
or.
It's really cute.
There just isn't any pink in it.
That's okay.
But that's okay. That's never been my favorite color, although I donned a pink hat tonight.
I know,
you have blue, so I guess we're hatted for either
We are still
sex.
Neutral.
Absolutely.
Still
Tonight,
neutral.
I would like to talk about style.
You are looking very,
very
stylish.
I actually,
and I feel very stylish too.
The white glove theory. So I looked up, what does style mean? As a noun, it's a manner of doing something.
Oh, I would have never guessed that.
Or it's a distinctive appearance, typically determined by the principles according to which something is designed. So again, fits with quilting. As a verb, it is a design or make in a particular form. Or it designates with a particular name, description, or title. Do you feel a lot wiser like an owl?
No, but I feel fancy with my gloves.
I'm glad you feel fancy. So, you know, we've kind of taken some of these books that we've heard about, these 3-yard quilt books that are super easy to sew together. And as I was sewing my last quilt together, I decided that was not necessarily my style. I very much like them. They sew up quick. They're going to be great gifts.
I would agree with you. I'm not sure that they're my style either, but it was fun to step out of the box to see if you could expand your horizons into a new style.
And we also learned that you can make a lap quilt out of 3 yards of material, and they tell you should maybe put the binding down with a 1 1/4 inch strip, which, you know, in my old age and my stubbornness as I get older, I am not doing that.
Nope. I'm gonna do scrappy binding on mine because I like having some wiggle room, and I don't like, unless it's bias binding, I don't enjoy single binding.
I do like single binding,
You
but
do.
for a utilitarian quilt, I feel that a double binding is much more appropriate
effective,
because
yeah.
they get worn. So with my quilt, and as long as I have the bolt of fabric laying close, I'm going to add a little more yardage to my quilt and make it the old-fashioned 2.5
Well, let's see
double
them.
full binding. How about you go first?
Okay.
I'm going to have a sip of wine.
Or isn't that what you were gonna show next?
Also, I just want to put a plug in while she's getting her quilt ready there. We took a trek up north to the Glenwood area and we visited the Rolling Forks Vineyard with a couple on Friday night. Excellent wine slushes.
I was gonna say, my dad even sent a message that said that the wine slushies were really good. So that, not that dad's not a,
Wine's not his thing.
but for a text to come through that said the wine slushies were fantastic, which is what I remember when I went there.
So on a hot day, that would be
Need
a
to go
good
there.
drive and a good drink to have.
So this is a 3-yard quilt, which is appropriate for the veterans that you know for the 4th of July. This will be finding a home with a veteran that we know when we are finished up with it. And it will have scrappy binding when it's done. It's all very quickly pieced together. That went together in an afternoon, which was kind of fun. Compared to the first one that I did, which I really
this
like.
quilt.
I have a dog
Jesus.
who has a fantastic wiggle butt.
Hey, we got a new puppy.
Yes,
If she
you
wasn't so
did.
wild, I would have shared her tonight on the World Wide Web.
She's cute, and she might have to make an appearance on Facebook sometime.
She's a sweetie. Her name's Hazel.
So this quilt, also 3 yards, and while it is strip piece, it requires a little more time because there's a little more sewing on each block.
And a little bit smaller pieces that you're working with
Yeah.
than the very first 3-yard quilt that I did. Hey, are those white gloves? Do we have to have white gloves to touch the quilts tonight?
Well, especially because you're eating cheese for
What's-
Dairy Month.
Yeah, I know June is Dairy Month, and cheese and wine and pretzels. That's
Makes
a
a
good
great
snack.
combination. But because you're touching cheese, we can't let cheese touch our quilts, can we?
I guess not. So you just go ahead and show away, and I'm going to have some cheese, which will require more wine. This was my red and white. I'm going to touch it too. My 3-yard red, white, and blue quilt. I didn't know I was going to have to talk about it with my
Well,
mouth
you
full
said
of
you were
food,
going to
but
talk.
Here it is.
Ta-da!
I've also been enjoying doing some long arming.
She has went to town, so after the long arm was up and she got all of the supplies that she needed to get rolling with
Newly
it.
purchased, I might add. I still haven't found the box with, you know, the
You have,
moved
that thing has
supplies.
been smoking with the
Yeah.
number of quilts that
Had a
you've
lot of
gotten
fun
done.
with it.
You're gonna
It
have to talk
worked.
about how much fun you did have with this though.
Well, then nobody's gonna want to buy it.
Well, the quilt was fun.
This is a new panel that came into the shop. Yep. When it's nice and warm outside, you want to be thinking about snowmen. So I took the panel and put that into where one of my fabrics was supposed to be. I added that lovely, soft, minky-like fabric on the back because I think I'll probably keep it. Then decided, oh, you know what, chenille it would be nice on here. And
So if we zoom in, you can see the lovely fuzzy chenille.
I'm not sure it was worth the headache, but I'm not ripping it off.
And you got your chenille project done. I started one for anybody who hasn't put chenille on. I started a tutorial on chenille, and we don't want colorful words when we're struggling getting fabric to feed through the machine, and so it's just sitting on the spare bed for another day.
And I think part of my problem was it was harder to feed through when I had this kind of a backing on there. And the other thing is, oftentimes when I use chenille, I haven't tried to cover up a line. And I was trying to be so careful. And, You know, in the end, you can't see it anyway, so I shouldn't have been so fussy about it.
But it added a lot to this project.
It did add in, you know, maybe I would put the chenille on and then quilt it. You might have easier luck. So we do really enjoy working with chenille, and it does add.
We were both really surprised. It's the first I don't want to say bad, the first frustrating experience that we've had with chenille, because it does add so much to a quilt top. And for me, it's a surface that I'm working on. It just does not feed and slide through like it should. So once I move it to the kitchen table, it'll be just fine.
I do need to show the project that required gobs of patience that she obviously got from her father, because I don't have those.
So I would not say that my style is necessarily mystery quilts. I like to see what I'm putting together. However, I may have cheated and I may have missed a few days, so then I kind of got to see how things were going to progress through. This was a sew along by Laundry Basket. So every day you did a block. I have to admit it was very fun. I learned a lot as I was putting it together. I used a jelly roll that I've had laying around for a little while to do my piecing with and planning with. And for me, this was quite an accomplishment to put together that many blocks. It definitely was not as hard as it looked, and I would encourage anybody to try one of her mystery quilts. And this was a layer cake. A layer cake of Bonnie and Camille's fabric. And I think it'll find itself on the bed. I am hoping when we're out and about next week that we can border it off. And
it's beautiful. And your blocks were
they're 4.5 inches, and it's 15 by 15. It was fun to see it progress. And again, if you're a beginner looking at this thinking, holy smokes, I could never do that, I very much commend her. You started off with 4 patches, and then you shrank it down to a double 4 patch, and she gave some good tips about that. And then you did a half square triangle, and then you did a quarter square triangle big, and then you broke the half square triangle down even further before you finally did flying geese. So when you break it down that way, it was a really good learning tool for people to try.
This one we probably don't want to throw on the floor.
Why? If you've ever seen Karen McTavish, she just like zooms it. It'll be good.
Well, go ahead and let's keep going through your stack. I love this. So this
I actually did this yesterday.
Text came to me, are you ready for a laugh?
I did think it was a laugh. So out at quilt shows, people always wanted to know if they could use Valdani thread in their sewing machine. And we never tried it until yesterday. I decided I didn't have anything to lose because I didn't have the orange I wanted, and I was hasty.
Hasty, that's a nice word.
It was a nice word. And so I tried it. So this is a Tripoli pattern that my mom did a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, we did it for a shop hop.
And I'm gonna zoom in because you can't really see, but this is what Valdani looks like when you stitch with it on the sewing machine. And granted, this is just a straight stitch, but instead of doing the embroidery, it was kind of a fast way to put these little guys down. And it was a fast project. I started it after lunch and had the entire thing finished by 7 o'clock last night. And got interrupted, you know, with daily house things along the way. It goes fast, and it uses.
Ignore that dryer buzzer when it goes off.
Uses a mini charm pack, and this is of Smoke and Rust by Lila Boutique. So if you like this, you will find a pre-order for it on our website.
Lacey's had Weezer has had a lesson in the website.
I did, from Thelma.
Not saying that she had good instruction, but I'm saying she's at least can get in there and do some things now. So you may see the website.
Just enough to be dangerous.
Which is scary to me, because when I turn it on, I sure hope that it's looking like it.
Always has. So do I. Don't look for many major changes.
I'm not worried.
Or we'll just be blowing smoke. Which isn't what this is called, but it's called smoke rings. And this is a charm pack project. one charm pack does the whole thing. No, these are not pieced circles, because even though I have patience, I don't have that much patience. I like the style of circles. I just don't want to piece the circles. So it's cheated and it's fused.
That's a very neat project. I believe the fabric is supposed to be coming in July, so once again, probably a pre-order.
And then I decided to do some binding while we watched hockey the last time I was home, so this is now finished. This is called Tumbleweeds, and this is charm pack friendly as well. I just used yardage. And then I have been stitching on a new hexie project. So you see about half of the hexies down, and there's going to be a lot of embroidery that comes with this, so stay tuned. And how about you? You have a very nice stack aside from your cheese and your pretzels. I can take your cheese and pretzels.
So I decided one day that I was going to order the block. I love block rulers, templates, whatever you want to call them. And so this little project takes 2 candy packs because, well, A, it wouldn't have needed that to get the size that it was, but it uses these wonderful little templates that make trimming up these goofy triangles very, very slick. They're made larger, and then you trim them up. This slides right on the seam, and it just goes together.
I really like this.
Really easily.
And love the lace detailing on the outside edge.
But the funny thing about this is, if you've got this or you're working with these kinds of things, there is definitely a right and a left side to your template. I learned the hard way because I did all of my cutting and I went to sew it together, and I had every single one of these skinny triangles going in the same direction, and I
kind of your style.
Make a block. Yes, that wasn't very nice, but it's the truth. So,
it's my style too. The apple didn't fall far from the tree.
I'm not so sure I'd say that.
I would.
Well, enough about that project now that I've been thrown under the bus and thumped over a couple of times.
I said that
I wish I wouldn't have told her, so when she digs it out, we'd see whether or not it works.
It's going to be
her.
the same result because I am your daughter.
Some years back, I bought these wonderful little necklaces that didn't go with my outfit tonight, but they're paper pieced by a gal named, I believe, Julie Levine, who came out with a fabric line called Homestead Harvest, and I absolutely loved her work when I've seen her quilt booths, and so I had to order some of her fabrics. We got in some charm packs and also some jelly rolls, and this is my project using one of her charm packs. It's one of our older patterns called Blue Bayou. Added some buttons in the center so I didn't have to do any kind of fussiness. And I had a lot of fun with that. That was like an afternoon project. And while I was hunting for the supplies for my long arm, which still haven't surfaced, I have no idea where they're at, I came across this quilt, which I can't even begin to tell you how long ago I made it. But we did this back in our brick and mortar quilt shop days as a block of the month. It was written by somebody else, and I had loaded it and quilted about probably 3/4 of the quilt. And then I took it off the long arm for some reason. I think it was because I was in the border area and they're a little trickier for this old lady to quilt, and I never got it put back on. So it has traveled around with batting hanging off of it that was dirty looking. And I kept looking at it thinking it's just way too pretty to not finish. So I loaded it back on the long arm, which wasn't fun. And one day I decided today's the day, it's going to be finished. And so with all the dog hair and whatnot on it, which I'm sure you could see quite well, I finished it. So it has a little applique, which I'm trying to muster up the ambition to put all this quilt underneath my sewing machine and applique these fun little circles. Yeah.
But it's beautiful, and I'm very proud that you got this done.
And I'm going to bind it, and it'll go on our bed, but it's way too darn hot right now to have it on there because the back is flannel.
Very much is your style.
This is my style.
With the colors and
dark,
the design.
Can lay on the floor, doesn't matter. And another project that came from our brick and mortar
She's been really
shop.
good at getting UFOs done.
That's been kind of fun. It's been rewarding.
You had some fun UFOs.
This is one that my mom took home from our quilt shop and said she would finish it for me. This was a Bonnie Sullivan pattern. If my glasses are sliding down my nose because I'm hot. Oh. But she finished it up, gave me the quilt top back, and I was determined that I was not putting that in a box for another day. So I put this on the long arm after I finished up that great big block of the month and got this quilted, and I just have a little bit of embellishing work yet to do on here. Put some red buttons on for the hollies, but this makes me quite pleased because once again, this is my style, not my pattern. It's got extra threads on it, and it will be hanging in our house this Christmas, which I believe brought my mom great delight that she had taken the time to finish it off, and she was excited that I was going to see it to its fruition. Speaking of finding things in the quilt shop, so on the end of my long arm sits my thread bobbin dubissary. And on there was this bag, and I opened up the bag because it has these really cool hexies in it. Believe it or not, once upon a time, I did think I was going to like that.
The seed was planted a long time ago.
They're still in the bag if you'd like to take them home. However, also in that bag was there were some little tiny wool quilt blocks that I had sewn, and I dug them out and thought, I wonder what I was going to do with them. And I liked them still, which is always a good thing if you dig something out that you've started, because a lot of times you don't really like it anymore, and then it's easy to just throw it under the car wheels and drive over it and then throw it. I decided that I was going to make something out of those. And so this is my scrap shot sampler done.
I'm very proud of you for digging these out and finishing this.
And I had so much fun with it.
You did have a lot of fun with it.
And I would sit every night, because hockey's about the only thing on in my house, in my living room when it's on. And the Stanley Cup playoffs had started. Maybe too much wine?
Maybe so.
Anyway, I might cheer for the wrong team tonight when I tune in. That'd be scary. But anyway,
she might not get to keep watching hockey.
I dug this out, cut my blocks, and every night while I watched hockey, I stitched on my project, and I thought, I wonder what I'm going to name this when I get done. It should have something to do with hockey, because for the most part, its origination was during hockey. And I thought about slap shots. I thought about this is an absolute perfect project to use wool scraps that you've saved, because any of you woolies know that, you know, the tiniest little piece of wool can make a berry, and it also can make a quilt block. So I decided scrap shot sampler. Perfect name. So excited, because sometimes that's the hardest part of when you make a pattern. What the heck am I going to call it?
It's a good one.
So Scrap Shot is going to actually be offered as a block of the week starting in July, first Wednesday, to correlate with our Wednesday Woolly group that we used to have back in the day when we were smoking hot in our quilt shop due to these hot days of weather, and our needles busy stitching. So if you're interested in wool applique, this would be a great project for you to join in the fun. And Weezer's laughing. I don't understand why.
I don't know that I can share it. Would you?
Please do.
One of the last Woolly Wednesdays that I remember that we had in the shop in the afternoon was a really small group of ladies. And the door was open, and I remember I was out front cutting on some stuff, and you ladies were sitting in the back stitching, and we had a bird come flying at us.
The one and only. Well, no, there were two. Well, birds, you know, birds of a feather
Flocked together.
Yeah.
And the bird was safely released outside. It just flew right on out the door once the door was open.
Yeah, those kinds of birds we think about during Halloween, and they're not a crow.
Anyways, sorry.
I bet you're glad the building's not there anymore, aren't you?
Oh, if the walls could talk, they would have such great stories to tell.
Yeah. We don't even know where the building is, come to think about it. I also want to share this little wool project. This is for June Dairy Month. And if you like cows and whatnot as well as I do, you need to check out our website because I shared some cow fun facts. The radio did that, and so I thought, you know, I'm gonna share those facts on our website because I am a dairy girl at heart, and they are my second favorite animal in the world is a cow. So these ice cream cones won't melt. You can have them any time of the year at any time. So that's a free download pattern on our website if you're interested in downloading that. Mm-hmm. That will be a project that will also correlate with our Cotswold Circle group, yep, which we plan to probably start in September. We talked about that the last time I believe we did a Thelma Weezer segment, and we are going to get that launched. So stay tuned for further details.
And if you aren't a part of our newsletter, we encourage you to sign up for that.
Lacey's going to do a newsletter that will be emailed out to you. So make sure you go to the website and get signed up with
for
your
our newsletter
if you want to be aware of what's going on. New product. We have a couple new products.
We do.
You know, we're not product people.
No.
But there were a couple things that we've seen out there that we thought we should maybe give a try.
What's your favorite one out of the two we're going to show? Do you have one?
Probably the one you have in your hand. How about you?
I would agree. I find a lot of good use for this. I don't know that I would ever want to be without this.
So if you're a chain piecer and you know who you are, some people don't know what that means, but if you are a chain piecer, you do know what that means. This is a dandy little must-have tool. I have mine by my sewing machine when I'm working with that, but this would also work if you're just doing hand stitching, any kind of stitching, anytime you need to cut your thread, unless it's really close to your quilt or your Pexi project or your wool project that you're working on. But the cool thing about it is that it uses your old rotary cutting blades, the 45-degree blades, and it has little slots. I don't think you could cut your finger unless you really tried. Yep. So, and it moves, so after you've used it in one spot for so long, you can pull it out of there and move it to a different spot. You actually could rotate the rotary cutter blade, but by the time it wears out, I'm sure you're going to have another one.
And if you go on a retreat, these gloves aren't always, that's why they're not part of my style. But it packs away really nice too. There's no way for it to get out. And it holds. I was impressed. If you have this sitting behind your sewing machine and you're just gonna like cut as you sew, I was worried that it was just gonna slide, you'd cut and it would move with you. Yeah, no, it doesn't, stays put right
in a nice height. I have another one that I've used and it's probably about an inch tall, which is quite low. This just, whoever designed it had a lot of thought. They obviously were a sewer, so.
Fantastic tool for your toolbox.
This is
I wouldn't want to be without one either.
Thing that they can pre-order on our website as well.
Yep. And the thing that you have, that also works. It looks like a hamburger.
Macaroon.
I have to admit, so you have a sewing or a stitching needle in yours. I was really desperate. I did not realize I didn't have any just sewing machine needles, and was starting to notice as I was piecing that it would send little, it would not fray the edges, but it would make the fabric run. So I decided I wasn't out anything, and I'm not saying that I would sharpen all of my needles that way, but I was pleasantly surprised that if you're in a pinch, it actually eliminated the thread pulling for the rest of my project until I got home to get needles to change, which I was really surprised by. And I ran it through my macaroon probably 4 or 5 times to try to. So
it's a needle sharpener. It'll take off burrs on your needles. It also has a magnet on one side, so it'll hold your needle. It actually magnets my little scissors that I have
Right onto it.
as well. So it's got a pretty strong magnet on there, and they too are on our website for pre-order.
Yep. We're not usually tool people, so when we tried those, we were both very pleasantly surprised that we enjoyed them as much as we did.
Well,
Are you ready for the big baby reveal?
Is my first baby quilt for my new grandbaby.
We're excited.
And when Lacey went shopping, Weezer went out shopping one day to Del Rapids, and she said, "Oh, Mom, I bought you some fabric." And at that time, I kind of wondered if she was pregnant or not, but you know, you can't like
Mom's
ask
intuition.
that. I think so. And so when she brought the fabric to me, and I looked at it, I thought, "Ooh, that would make a pretty baby quilt." So this is
Isn't it fitting?
Dover. And Lacey and Kyle do not have a theme for their nursery. And as I would think about, you know, what should I do for a baby quilt pattern? Because we don't know the sex of the baby, so it needs to be something that's neutral. They love to fish, and so the 3 fish represent Lacey,
Isn't
Kyle,
it
and the
fitting?
baby.
And
The 2 fishing poles represent Lacey and Kyle. And they've hooked, just like we're hooked already with this little baby, and we haven't even gotten to meet the baby P yet. But I had so much fun putting it together. And it's the first of many, and I don't care whether Lacey uses it for baby P, because I'm sure she's got some ideas of quilts that she'd like to do herself. But I had a lot of enjoyment while I made it.
No, I think that this is it.
And I also put Minky on the back of it, because you know the baby's got to have that soft. And it worked quite well. I appliqued after I quilted it, and it actually served as a very nice
I love it.
background. I need to do a little more detail work on my fish, because I'm not a fisher person. Ooh, that's a little foreign to me. So my husband came over last night, tried to tell me, you know, this is, maybe do this with it. But then I had to run it by Lacey Sorion just to make sure that, you know, he was directing me the right way. So
I'm excited.
Our first attempt. I think it's unisex, and
It's very fitting.
there'll be more. I actually wanted to
Very,
dig out
very
the quilts
fitting.
that I made for you and for Joe, because I did each one of you a quilt as well.
That
and
took a lot of time for you to put together.
what?
Your blocks did for both those quilts.
Yeah, well, you know, what do you have to do back then? Sit in a chair and
Pick your nose.
it's clean. Well, it looks to me like we have rambled on, but I think we've shared.
We had a lot of stuff to catch up with everybody on. It's been a long time since we've gotten together for one of these. We kept pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back because we were so close to having so many projects finished that we wanted to do one big one instead of a bunch of little ones.
Yeah. And, you know, as I age, I just can't do as much as I used to. And so working at the tax office when I come home, that's my excuse. You know, I just couldn't be creative.
You're ready to be.
And now I've gotten to be home for about 3 weeks.
Once you get that taste of freedom, you don't want to give it up.
It's a lot of fun.
It is. It is.
So hopefully you'll be home again in the next
I will be.
4 to 6 weeks.
I will be. Guarantee it.
And we will try to film another Thelma and Weezer again, keep you up to date. Other than that, do you have anything else? Any words of
Enjoy
wisdom?
some ice cream and some milk and cheese, and really celebrate Dairy Month.
And hey, true to your style.
Yes.
We all have it.
White
it's all
gloves are
different.
not it.
But that's what makes the world go around, is everybody's different style. It wouldn't be any fun if we were all the same. So.
No.
All right.
Excellent advice.
Cheers to you. Keep
Until
sewing.
next time.
Stay cool. Be careful if you're eating ice cream outside. You're going to have to lick fast. Good night, or good day.